Hello everyone, I'm going to be showing you how to install a 12 volt power socket on the rear. This is a Tata Tiago top model, and as we see on the rear there's no power socket. It just comes with a plastic piece of cover which blocks out this slot. So I bought this power socket off Amazon, and this cost me 229 rupees with shipping included. It's a nice sturdy power socket with a rubberized cap. It's got a screw to tighten up when you fit it in the slot, and these two straight thimbles, one of them is for the positive and one of them for the negative. So this would take power, as we can see, this is the positive. So the power from the positive would be tapped with a fuse tap. As you've seen my previous video, I use a fuse tap. This is a mini type fuse adapter, and I'm going to be getting my power from the fuse box over here, one of the fuses right by your right knee, and this would be a wire which extends all the way through the center console to the space where the slot of the power socket is. And I would need one of these. It's a wire thimble, and this would be used to ground my power socket, so the negative terminal, onto any chassis bolt. So in one of my previous videos you saw this armrest installation. So right below the armrest are two chassis bolts which hold the bolts for the handbrake mechanism onto the chassis. And so I'm going to unscrew this armrest in this video. I'll show you how to do it, and then I'm going to demonstrate how to use this wire thimble to ground your negative to the chassis. And for the positive tap I'm going to need this micrometer. So this micrometer is going to be useful to determine which fuse is not powered when the engine is off. So I don't want my power socket to drain and trickle charge when the engine is off. So I'm going to determine which fuse is always off and only turns on when the ignition is on, and that's where I'm going to use this fuse tap. So stay tuned, I'm just going to show you the different parts of the installation. So this is my armrest, and I'm going to unfortunately need to disassemble this so I can access the space over here. So basically it's got 5 screws onto the original cup holder. So I'm going to unscrew them one by one, and once this comes off I'm going to be able to take it off completely as one whole unit rather than dismantled pieces of my armrest. With the armrest off, now we just remove this cup holder that came installed with the car. It's really easy to just pull off, and then we see the bracket here which holds the armrest. So there's 2 screws which I've already undone. Just pull these screws out and remove this whole bracket in situ. So now we see, can you see these 2 bolts here? There's one here, there's one bolt here, and there's another bolt here. So these 2 bolts are holding this metallic bracket. So what I need is to undo these bolts and create a negative ground for the 12 volt socket. So for this we're going to need a 10 mm socket, and I'm going to unscrew this and show it to you. So now I've taken out these 2 bolts. This is an unpainted part of the car, and what I'm going to do is remove this bolt, and I've put the thimble with the wire. Now what you need is some wire which is like 1 square millimeter in cross section, and I'm going to get it underneath this mounting plate for my handbrake, and basically just put this bolt in back. So the concept is this, where now you can see that this is grounded to the chassis, and that would be the negative terminal. So I need to use both my hands to put my armrest back on. So let's get back. For my fuse tap, the shipping company sends a 5 ampere fuse, but I'm going to use a 15 ampere fuse. This is the engine compartment, that's the main 12 volt battery. Over here we have the fuse compartment of the Tata Tiago. So just take this cover off, and in this row we can see these are the spare fuses. I'm just going to take one of these 15 ampere fuses. It's a mini type fuse, and that's how it looks. And I'm going to be using this on my fuse tap. If you can see 15 over there. So I've determined that this fuse here, the one in the middle, it corresponds to the fuse number F11 on my car, which is an EPAS fuse, 5 ampere. So what I've done is now I've taken the fuse tap, I've swapped the company fitted 5 ampere fuse for a spare 15 ampere fuse, and this one goes on this side of the fuse tap on the top, and the fuse which is on the fuse box, a 5 ampere, will slot over here right below the 15. And I've snaked the wire, I've taken the wire and it's gone behind the steering wheel and through this console, and right over here it comes out, and here I brought it out through this slot over here. So next, what needs to be done is I need to attach this to the wire thimble, the straight wire thimble. Once this gets onto this wire, I just plug it in to the positive terminal. So this one's coming from the fuse tab, that's going to be positive, and the one that I took from the chassis bolt over here, this one is negative. I put green tape on because once I screw this 12-volt socket into here, I'm not really sure if I can identify positive, negative if they're both black. So I'm going to be using this method to identify them. All that left is now to finalize this fitting. Once before I screw it in, I am going to test it to see if it does power on. Let's just see that now. I've attached the positive and negative wires to the plug, and all that needs to be done is to check if this works. So here we go. This is my ventilated seat power inlet, and oh right, it works. So that's the light, it's working, and I can feel my ventilated seat is powering air. So that's a success. All that I need to do now is to put this back into the slot and finalize the fitting of all my panel gaps. So that's the final fitting of my 12-volt socket. We can see the bunch of wires over here, and let me see those two terminals. So these are connected to my power socket. The wires stay here. This is a bracket for my armrest, so most of you won't have the armrest, so these steps would be redundant for you. You would just directly need to bolt this thimble onto the chassis bolt. And just for final proof, I'm going to plug in this ventilated seat pad, and we can hear, not too much, but I can see it, that the air is now blowing through my ventilated seat, and it works fine. All I need to do now is reinstall my armrest, clean up the car, and enjoy my DIY. Thank you.